One. Hey there, it's Kelly from Kelly's Astrology, and I'm here today with two of my very dear friends, Cassandra and Alicia. Together, we are the Water Trio. We are all astrologers, and we've known each other for more than 10 years, going back to our days as younger astrologers in Sydney, although none of us actually live in Sydney anymore. So do you guys want to introduce yourselves, maybe say just a little hello?
I'm Alicia.
Somebody has to go first, Leash.
The Aries rising. Come on.
Fantastic.
I'm Alicia Youssef. You can find me on futurefrequency.com.au. And I am a Scorpio. So I'm the Scorpio leg of this water trio. And
excellent.
Very excited to be here with my girls.
Yeah, it's really cool. We've been talking about doing something for a really long time. So Leash is our Scorpio. I'm the Pisces. And Cass, tell us about you, Miss Cancer.
Well, I'm a Cancerian of this water trio. And so I'm Cassandra. CassandraTyndall.com is my website. And I'm based in Brisbane. And yeah, I do astrology too. And been in Vegas now for coming up for 6 years. So we'll see how much longer.
Yes, who knows where life will take us all. So our goal with our show, I guess, is to kind of highlight an aspect of the week for those of you watching at home who are interested in astrology or maybe just interested in timing life to the rhythms of the cosmos. So this is our first show. We're going to kick off with the first full week in November, the week starting Monday, November 5th. So we're all very excited, I think, about this week. We've all got our own individual tip of the week. So, Leash, do you want to head off to continue your Aries vibe?
Sure. Well, continuing the Scorpio vibe, actually.
Oh, I like it.
Yes. And hey, we've had a year of Scorpio vibe now, haven't we?
Yes, I'm kind of ready for the end of it, but you might feel differently.
No, I think I'm really ready for it too. And I know lots of clients and people I'm speaking to are, and I feel like this is the new moon to end it all. And I feel like this new moon in Scorpio, so here in Australia, that new moon is happening
Thursday, November 8th in Oz.
Yeah, in the morning, early in the morning. So, and that is going to be in the same sign. So it's right before Jupiter changes signs. And it's almost like everything, and it's the first new moon since Jupiter went in there last year. So it's almost like everything that we've learnt this year about ourselves and everything that we've been especially focused on with Venus in there for the last month is really coming to a head now. And we're really getting to dig in deep and delve the bowels of our minds, as you so eloquently put it, Cass. And yeah, it's going to be a chance for us to look at that and go, right, what do we want to take forward? And what do we want to let go of? Jupiter's going to be it's that last kick as it's
just
highlighting all those issues that have been happening. You know, think about when it first went in, and all that Harvey Weinstein stuff came up, the Me Too movement, the corruption that's been highlighted in a number of different countries, including here in Australia. And for each of us, you know, what's being dug into, what has been come up, and what's the scum almost that's come to the surface in your life. And I feel like this new moon is when we can set intentions around clearing that out and empowering ourselves and almost becoming masters of our own fate with it, using that Scorpio energy to really focus and move forward with it.
That's really cool, Leash. So you're talking about the Scorpio new moon really being a chance to kind of maybe do the last bit of the Jupiter in Scorpio stuff?
Yeah. Just to take those lessons we've learned and to set intentions to
I like it.
Get it ready and tighten it up before we move into that optimistic time of Jupiter and Sag.
That's fantastic. So it's going to be at 15 degrees, the new moon in Scorpio. And I've just pulled the chart up. This is actually the chart for Brisbane. So it is very early in the morning on Thursday, November 8th in Brisbane. It will be in the afternoon on the 7th for listeners in Canada and the States. Any comments on this at all, Cass? Do you want to chime in with anything at this point?
Yeah, I totally agree with Leash. It's that sort of that last little dive before we sort of get that opportunity to come back up for air with Jupiter and Sag. And I think it just lovely, in a lovely way, it just kind of brings I guess maybe a lighter energy to what's been heavy for the last 12 months. So it might be about a way of, I guess, bookending or closing that Jupiter chapter and plant some seeds for that growth that we've been working towards for the last year or so.
Fantastic. So it's definitely a big shift. And I like what you said, Leash, about, the new moon in Scorpio kind of clearing out the last of that Jupiter in Scorpio cycle. Because it really is, it's an interesting contrast, isn't it, to have a new moon in the sign of Scorpio where Jupiter is just about to leave and move in to Sag, which is definitely my kind of highlighted event of this week. Jupiter moving into Sag Thursday, November 8th. Let me get this chart moving so I can show you that in the sky. I mean, I am totally biased towards Jupiter and towards Sag in general, just based on my own personal chart. I've got a lot of planets in Jupiter's signs, in Pisces and Sag. And so I really like the optimism of Jupiter. I also like the adventurous quality. But Jupiter moving into Sag, there's a lot of positive things to say about that in terms of optimism or improved outlook or even more of this sort of abundant, supportive energy coming through. So it'll be really interesting to see how everybody gets a chance to say yes to something in the year ahead, which is, Jupiter's going to spend 12 months moving through Sag over the next 12 months. I don't know. I was thinking back to last time Jupiter was in Sag, which I think was late 2006, and then for 2007. And that was just such a golden time, not necessarily in the world, but I know I had a lot of wonderful life and work things happen. Do you guys have any memories from that time?
Yeah, I certainly had a fairly traditional 7th house Jupiter and Sagittarius transit back then. And in my life, similarly to you, Kel, I've got a lot of sort of
yes.
I'm a very Jupiterian chart, so whatever Jupiter does, I seem to really, embody that. So, yeah, I kind of did all that Jupiter in the 7th sort of thing. So, and I kind of did that the time before too. So, it certainly does open life up for you wherever Jupiter will be transiting over the next 12 months. So it's definitely something to say yes to. And I actually wrote a blog last week or something, even before I really understood astrology beyond the basics, I was always a bit of a yes person. So, having Jupiter rising in my own chart, I am just saying yes to whatever's out there. So I think that's, a really key point, even if it means getting a little bit out of your comfort zone or saying yes to things you might normally sort of shy away from. And I think Jupiter going through Sag is going to be a nice counterpoint to the recent Saturn in Sagittarius, where there was a part of life that maybe wasn't, it wasn't so much about saying yes, it was maybe saying maybe or even no. So any of the hardship that sort of happened around the getting used to saying Jupiter and Sag rolling off the tongue, but whatever happened in Saturn and Sag that may not have been quite so jubilant or joyous, has an opportunity, I think, to sort of heal, progress and move forward and open up in new ways.
Yeah, that's I was going to say, that's a really good point, Jinx.
I mean, if you think around that sort of 2015, 16 and into 17, how life was maybe a bit heavy or challenging, or what area of life was just a constant grind. Just think about that. And then it's kind of, you might be able to like look back and go, okay, I had to go through that, so I can now see the benefit or the opportunity to move forward. So I guess there is that sort of nice, silver lining too with the Jupiter and Sag piece this time around, which we didn't have before.
And it's almost like, for me, when I look at my story, mine was really opening up and broadening my mind within the spiritual and the faith-based stuff. I discovered something new then and really opened up into it. And then in those years you're talking about with the Saturn in Sag, that's when I grounded it and I really made it practical, and I brought it into my everyday life. So now it's like I've got an opportunity to take what I opened to then, and then, I've grounded it, I've made it a real foundation in my life, and I'm now going to get another chance to build on it and grow it and take it to even greater heights, which I'm super excited about.
That's a really good point that both of you are making, because I think that's something that kind of gets forgotten with, we're all excited, Jupiter's coming into Sag, rah, rah. But it is good to remember that 2015, 2016 and 2017, we had Saturn going through this same part of the sky. So it's almost like going from like hard to easy, whatever might have been really challenging in that 2015 to 2017 period. It's like now the hard work pays off, or you get the reward from everything that you had to restructure or consolidate, or as you said, Leash, that you had to really get grounded with in that time frame. Yeah. And Jupiter is such an optimistic energy, isn't it? So to have Jupiter come back into one of its home signs, it's basically like the lucky planet where it can do some of its best work. And it's not that I want people to think, everything is going to be all sunshine and roses for the next 12 months, but it does feel like at least in one area of life, there's going to be a special opportunity to kind of take that leap of faith and have it. Maybe it won't necessarily go exactly where you think, but it will certainly take you somewhere that you'll be happy to have gone.
Yeah. And I feel like, one of the analogies I've been thinking about is the Thai cave rescue with those boys. And that was, there were a lot of triggers to Jupiter and Scorpio at that time. And now is when they're coming out of the cave. That light and that hope, and the whole world gathered around that. And I feel like now with this Jupiter and Sag energy, it's going to have a similar thing to that. It's like there's a faith and an optimism and a belief that that new things will come and that there is a brighter future, because it definitely hasn't had that energy for the last 12 months.
Yeah, well, even just here in Brisbane, after a really long dry spell, we've had a lot of rain. And so we've had so much water in the astrology weather of late, and it's that still stagnant water. And Jupiter's going to change signs. It's going to be fiery. It's going to dry out a little bit. There'll be a lot more hope and optimism moving forward. And just, going from that sediment type of water to high flames that are high light and bright. It'll just have this beautiful, optimistic, inspirational, and a bit more motivating, a bit more movement as well. That's what I'm looking for, is the movement.
The movement. I think that's really great. From a health or a medical astrology perspective, Scorpio is really correlated with things being stuck. So, one of the symptoms when you've got a lot of Scorpio stuff going on can be like this feeling of constipation or congestion. And so, not that necessarily everybody's been constipated for the last 12 months, but there has been this emotional kind of congestion quality. And with Jupiter coming into Sag, it's a mutable sign versus Scorpio being fixed, which is where we get some of that. We get the solidness and the reliable qualities of Scorpio, but that's also where we get the rigidity and the stuckness.
Like
and Sag,
it's like we've been in this like sort of stuck, stagnant, sort of maybe emotional, spiritual place. And then, Sag comes through like the plumber and kind of unblocks everything for us.
That's a really great way of talking about it, Cass. Totally. Yeah. It's like being unblocked, or things that have been stuck start moving again, with a fair amount of speed, basically.
And I think to for the mutables, you know, so if you've got a mutable sign rising, it's going to activate an angular house for you. So it's certainly going to be a lot more dynamic. You know, I think a lot of people, Jupiter and Sag is generally good for everybody, but, you know, for those who have either got Gemini rising, Virgo, Sag or Pisces, of course, they're going to feel it maybe just that little bit more because of where it's located in their own personal birth charts.
And their midheavens too.
Yeah, exactly.
And for me, you know, fire, the fire signs as well. There's going to be a lot more energy.
Lovely trine, yeah.
Back.
Yeah.
As those trines kick off. So yeah, my Aries side's very excited. I'm sure the Leo and Sagittarius will be feeling the same because it has felt heavy. And fire doesn't do that well with water. So yeah, time to get your move back on, fire signs.
Yeah, absolutely. So Aries, Leo and Sag are all going to get a bit of a lift. The mutable signs, which are Gemini, Virgo, Pisces and Sag, will all get a little bit of a boost. I think the air signs will get a nice little lift as well. So Aries, Gemini, Libra and Aquarius. So it's really just sort of the earth signs that get a little bit left out, except for Virgo, they get a little bit. So yeah, it is lovely just to get the freshness. I mean, there's a lot of heavy energy still out there. We've still got Saturn in Capricorn for the next 2 years. We've got the big Saturn-Pluto conjunction coming up for 2020. And I'm sure we're going to have lots of thoughts to share about that as we go. But it's nice to have this like bright, warm energy to turn to and to seek solace from. So yeah, Jupiter's moving into Sag November 8th. What I really like about that too is we have the moon moving into Sag on the same day. So it's almost like Jupiter crosses the threshold and the moon comes along just to make sure we all get a real sense of that fresh energy. And I kind of like that because, as you said, Leish, we do have a new moon this week. So the moon's going to be in that new moon, fresh seed planting phase. It's going to meet up with Jupiter and we're going to get this feeling of, I really feel like we're all going to get a flash or a vision or an insight or an inkling of what our personal Jupiter and Sag journey or quest is going to be about. And so pay attention to what you think about, who you encounter, what you start planning or talking about Thursday, November 8th, because I think that's going to be a lot of insight coming through that day.
Yep. And I think it's Friday, November 9th here in Oz, is it?
Technically the 8th.
Oh no,
I think it is. Yeah, I think it's the 8th.
On the 8th. Yep.
It just sneaks in. So it's like overnight if you're in Australia, the 8th to the 9th. I
think I'm actually going to sit up and do a little ritual, to be honest.
I think it would be worth doing for sure. Yeah. I think it would totally be worth doing. Yeah, absolutely. So Cass, you were really focused on something different this week.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about Jupiter and Sag.
I know, and you're like, devil's advocate.
Well, how can you not?
I know, I'm going to be all about the Jupiter and Sag, but there are other things going on.
Look, I'm totally all about the Jupiter and Sag. I mean, Jupiter kind of rules 3 of my angles in a way, so I'm totally happy for Jupes to get out of my 6th house, let me say. But what I'm personally also really excited about, I mean, I think November overall is a month to get a bit excited, but the nodes also change signs. And according to my notes, that happens on the 7th for us. So we get this nice, that change, that eclipse portal technically changes. So we did have a little bit of a sneak peek in July when we had the very partial new moon in Cancer. That would have been about 20 degrees. And so we technically get that nodal shift change. And so in terms of moving forward, the North Node in Cancer, I mean, and me being that Cancerian leg of the water trio, I'm kind of excited about that too.
Yes.
So, that area of life where it does kind of open up. And I mean, there are a lot of varying schools of thought and philosophies around how the nodes work. And I kind of buy in a little bit to all of it. But time and time again in chart work, the North Node does seem to denote an area of life that does kind of open up. And it is a little bit like Dorothy clicking her heels. And then there's that yellow brick road that just kind of sometimes opens up when the North Node's triggered. So I guess, look to that Cancer part of your horoscope and see what, where that's going to. And maybe at another level, think back to the turn of the century when the nodes were moving into Cancer then. So that 2000, 2001 period, where did things kind of take off or grow for you? Of course, the rest of the astro weather was different, but that North Node in Cancer definitely opens up a new portal or a new energy. And so, of course, the lunations are going to be hugely important. And then we've got some lovely reception with Jupiter in Sagittarius with that too. So there's a, sort of that double up of openings there as well.
Yeah, I do think I've been really thinking a lot about the North Node coming into Cancer. I've been thinking a lot about the exaltations of the planets and how we have Mars exalted in Capricorn, which in the Northern Hemisphere is like winter. And there's often sort of this, not that Mars in Capricorn is bad or negative in any way, shape or form. It's one of the best and most functional placements of Mars. But in nature, we have this real sense of kind of death or hibernation that goes on in winter, whichever hemisphere you're in. And then the spring or the growth energy of Jupiter being exalted in Cancer, and the sign of Cancer having so much to do with nourishing and nurturing the young or that which is growing. And I think it's really interesting to sort of feed that into the nodal cycle. So the nodes are these two symbolic points in the sky that represent the intersection between the sun and the moon and the earth. It's a little bit technical, but we follow the nodes because they tell us where the eclipses are going to be. And so having the North Node change signs, the North Node spends about 18 months in a sign, and it takes about 18 years for the North Node to come back to a sign. So that's what you're saying, Cass, like think back to the turn of the century. When you said that, I was like, of course that's going back a ways. And then I realized the turn of the century was only 18 years ago, which is exactly the last time that the North Node was in Cancer, which is a really great point for people to have a think about that as well.
I always find it's maybe it's the Cancerian me. In order to look forward, you have to look back to the past.
Oh my God, that's totally a Cancerian thing to say.
Oh yeah. But I mean, sometimes, that's all it takes for the penny to drop. Okay, so that's what happened for me last time, and it gives you that little bit of a window or insight as to where things can go from here.
Yeah.
So and might even be back to when was the North Node cap? I think that might have been around 2000.
It's usually 9 years. Yeah, so let me double check. So the last time the North Node went into Cancer was April 2000. And then the North Node going into Cap was,
I think it was like maybe 2000.
August 2009.
Yeah. So actually I was having this conversation with somebody last week, but at least for the Cancerian side of things, 2009 might have been where some of the biggest challenges were for you with the South Node there. So it might be just that little bit of a reversal of fortune or reversal of a path in a way. So maybe think about what was really hard, or what was your biggest area of maybe loss, or where things were a little bit barren on the ground for you back then, and then that can sort of turn around. So that's the sort of stuff I'm looking forward to. The eclipses coming up over the next 18 months will be huge. And then there's also the Saturn piece, the Saturn-Pluto piece on the other side of Cancer there. So, I mean, I could go on about that till midnight, but, at least just for next week, we've certainly got some wonderful, new vibes coming through, and just with that support with reception of Jupiter at the same time. And as the North Node moves into Cancer, we've also got that square to Uranus. So there's definitely some, sudden developments, I feel, or some surprises in the direction of where things can head as that aspect perfects. So it's kind of like strap yourselves in a little bit. So strap yourselves
Keep
in.
it G-rated.
I didn't do it. But I know you too well, Kel. I was just doing that and let that slide through to the keeper.
So we should just let our like lovely listeners and viewers know that usually we connect over wine and chocolate. So we are attempting to keep it a little bit more PG friendly.
And Sex in the City.
Yeah. Usually we connect over. We are that generation, that vintage of female. So we've all had our Samantha moments. But anyway.
I think the moment that resonates so well with me was when Carrie had that, oh my God, I'm 35. I'm like, that was years ago now, but back then it was like, wow, 35 seems so far away.
So far away because we weren't 35. We were younger than 35. But I mean, you are talking, okay, I'm going to like totally unsmooth.
Let's bring this back on track.
Yeah, not smooth segue back. But so Tuesday, November 6th, it's an important day, first Tuesday in November. What happens in Australia on this day?
Melbourne Cup.
Massive horse race. And
What's going to happen?
First Tuesday in November in America is voting day as well. So it's a big day, like for a number of reasons, depending on where you are. The Canadians have just legalized pot, so I'm not sure what's happening. Everybody's very happy.
For a while, Kel.
Everybody's happy and relaxed here. Yeah. But Tuesday, November 6th, Cass, that's the day the nodes move into Cancer. It's actually Wednesday the 7th in Australia, the 6th in Canada and the States. Sure. But the other thing that's happening that day, which you've just mentioned, is Uranus backtracks into Aries. So it is, I mean, that's really, if we think about this week as a meta sort of theme, like the big picture for this week, Uranus changes signs, North Node changes signs, there's a new moon, and Jupiter changes signs. So there's a lot of like fresh change, unexpected, start the week with one set of energies, end the week with the whole sky has been reset, basically. Yeah. I mean, do you guys have like what do you guys think about that, I guess?
I'll bring it. I mean, I'm
so ready.
Please just like put me in, strap myself in.
Okay, over to you, Leash. Cassandra's getting strapped in.
I'd also say, because with Uranus moving back into the cardinal signs, it really...
Don't mind her. Uranus coming back to the cardinal signs because this is important. We've got another 6 months of this, don't we?
Yeah. And so, for those with the fixed signs, yes, that's you, Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius, you can breathe a sigh of relief. But for those cardinal signs, so we're talking Aries, Libra, Capricorn and Cancer, it's like that unwanted house guest that comes back because they've forgotten something.
That's such a good description.
So just be ready. Just be ready for, especially though anyone who's got those planets or points in the end of the cardinal signs, be ready to revisit those shifts and changes that were happening over the end of last year.
Especially around April too.
It was like March, April, May when Uranus was at like 28, 29 Aries. So it's like a revisiting for them.
Yeah. And just be ready for it. I think, my feeling is it's not going to be as intense as it was back then because it's like the third hit. Or the second or third hit. So it's not going to be as full on.
Yeah.
But also with the nodes of the moon moving in there now, those lunations are going to highlight that point a lot more. So, be aware when the moon's in Aries to really keep an eye on that. And Uranus is that anxiety. So I will say to people, just watch it and feel it and try to stay calm, breathe, do your mindful exercises, whatever you can. I'm applying that to my life, having those late triggers.
Because you do have planets at the late cardinal leash, don't you?
Yeah.
I think it's 28, 29. Basically, if you have anything at 28 degrees or 29 degrees of Aries, Cancer, Libra or Capricorn, it'll be second and third hits. And I do agree, Leash, I don't think second and third hits are usually as dramatic or shocking as the first hit. You know what you're dealing with now, but you still have to manage it, basically. If the house guest is coming back, they're not a shock or a surprise to you anymore, but they're still going to be in your space, basically, to use that analogy.
And as my grandmother always used to say, house guests are like fish. They go off in 2 days. So you got 6 months of that to clear it out.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. So, gals, any final tips or words for this first week of November?
Plan, prepare, and think. And I mean, I just wrote a little post about this, about Mercury's now in Sag. Well, we'll be later this afternoon. And, it's that little prelude to Jupiter's big yes. So maybe it's a little bit of an opportunity to think about what you want to say yes to. And, Jupiter's not so great and Sag is not so great at logistics, planning and details. But we've got Mercury now in that shadow zone prior to his retrograde coming up, which we'll talk about next time. But it's a little invite to just maybe think about what it is you really want to be saying yes to with Jupiter and Sag.
Oh, I like it. Anything from you, Leash? Sorry, go, Cass.
Because, the Jupiter and Sag, I mean, I'm just going to say from personal experience, it's really easy to say yes to shiny things. But
hello, engagement rings.
Oh, please. So, yeah,
sorry, I'm teasing you. All kinds of shiny things, not just jewelry.
True that. So it's easy to say yes to shiny things, but, maybe consider, how do you want your life to open up? And maybe try a little bit of strategy planning, note-taking, list writing, journaling, write stuff down so you don't get too distracted or too restless along the way.
Yeah, I like it. Planning, good tip.
Thanks.
And I agree. Just ground yourself, keep yourself as grounded as you can, because as you highlighted, Kel, there is a lot of change and a lot of shifting this week. So be with it, be prepared for it, and just try to spend time being mindful of where you're going and what you're doing. And, get out in nature. That's always my thing.
Well, you guys are really giving some good practical tips. And I'm like,
what about you, Kel?
Well, I'm like, I would aspire to do those things that you're talking about.
The likelihood is kind of not really there, is it? Yeah,
exactly. Like, you guys know me. And I just read this book. I should have brought it in, actually, because now I'm thinking it is the best, motto or manifestation for Jupiter in Sag. The book is called Winging It by Emma Isaacs. And she's this amazing Australian entrepreneur. She runs this huge business called Business Chicks, and she's just published her first book, and a friend of mine knows her and recommended it, and I really enjoyed the book, actually. But it's called Winging It because her whole point about being in business and living a full life. She's married, she's got 5 children, and she runs this huge business. So she basically is all in. She's clearly said yes to everything. And she talks about how winging it is basically the way you move forward. The planning is good, the getting grounded is good, but sometimes you just got to take that leap of faith and go for it. So I'm going to maybe start the week with the planning part. By the end of the week, I could be winging it. But if I know what you guys are saying, because I know with Jupiter, a lot can happen that seems really bright and shiny and exciting all at once. But if you have taken the time to kind of clarify the big picture, you know which bright and shiny things you want to say yes to. Because I think with Jupiter and Sag, we all want to say yes to everything, and you actually can't. So I feel like maybe a blend of all of this could be a good approach for people for this week.
I'm just going to put my caveat in there.
Yeah.
My Libra moon, what I say isn't necessarily what I'm going to do.
On,
so,
I love it.
You walk the talk, don't you, darling?
Oh my gosh, this is brilliant. Okay, cool. So should we sign off now for this week? And we will look forward to seeing all of you lovely people next time. Let us know in the comments below what you like, if you have questions, if you have topics you want us to cover in future episodes. We have been talking for more than 10 years now, the 3 of us. I don't think we're going to run out of any topics soon, but we'd love to talk about topics that you might like to listen to.
We'll do our best to stay on track.
We'll do our best, but there will be some female necessary diversions maybe. So our websites again, futurefrequency.com.au for Leash, CassandraTyndall.com for Cass, and Kelly's Astrology for me. And we look forward to seeing you guys again soon.
Great. And don't forget to go and subscribe to us on iTunes at The Water Trio.
Oh, there you go. We have an iTunes. There you go. Thanks, Leash. That's our technical department.
That's winging it.
Oh, yeah. So totally winging it. Subscribe, and actually if we're on iTunes, give us a rating, because I think that will help other people find us. So excellent. We'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye. Okay.